Yadu dynasty. Certainly these are gifts of Lord Krishna's causeless mercy. The Lord is self-sufficient, the husband of the goddess of fortune, and thus he is always full with 6 opulences. He can understand the mind of his devotee, and he sumptuously fulfills the devotee's desires. All these are acts of my friend Lord Krishna. My beautiful dark-haired friend Krishna is far more liberal than the cloud, which can fill the great ocean with water. Without disturbing the cultivator with rain during the day, the cloud brings liberal rain at night just to satisfy him. And yet, when the cultivator wakes up in the morning, he thinks that it has not rained enough. Similarly, the Lord fulfills the desire of everyone according to his position. Yet one who is not in Krishna consciousness considers all the gifts of the Lord to be less than his desire. On the other hand, when the Lord receives a little thing in love and affection from his devotee, he considers it a great and valuable gift. I am a vivid example of this. I simply offered him a morsel of chipped rice, and in exchange, he has given me opulences greater than the opulence of the King of Heaven. What the devotee actually offers the Lord is not needed by the Lord, for he is self-sufficient. If the devotee offers something to the Lord, it acts for his own interest, because whatever a devotee offers the Lord comes back in a quantity 1,000,000 times greater than what was offered. One does not become a loser by giving to the Lord. One becomes a gainer by millions of times. The Brahmana, feeling great obligation to Krishna, thought, I pray to have the friendship of Lord Krishna and to engage in his service, and to surrender fully unto him in love and affection life after life. I do not want any opulence. I only desire not to forget his service. I simply wish to be associated with his pure devotees. May my mind and activities always be engaged in his service. The unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna knows that many great personalities have fallen from their positions because of extravagant opulence. Therefore, even when his devotee asks for some opulence from him, the Lord sometimes does not give it. He is very cautious about his devotees. Because a devotee is in an immature position of devotional service may, if offered great opulence, fall from his position due to being in the material world, the Lord does not offer opulence to him. This is another manifestation of the causeless mercy of the Lord upon his devotee. His first interest is that the devotee not fall. He is exactly like a well-wishing father who does not give much wealth into the hand of his immature son, but who, when the son is grown up and knows how to spend money, gives him the whole treasury house. The learned Brahmin thus concluded that whatever opulences he had received from the Lord should be used not for his extravagant sense gratification, but for the service of the Lord. The Brahmana accepted his newly acquired opulence, but he did so in a spirit of renunciation, remaining unattached to sense gratification. And thus he lived very peacefully with his wife, enjoying all the facilities of opulence as the prasadam of the Lord. He enjoyed varieties of food by offering it to the Lord and then taking it as prasadam. Similarly, if by the grace of the Lord we get such opulence as material wealth, fame, power, education, and beauty, it is our duty to consider that they are all gifts of the Lord and must be used for his service, not for our sense enjoyment. The learned Brahmana remained in that position, and thus his love and affection for Lord Krishna increased day after day. It did not deteriorate due to great opulence. Material opulence can be the cause of degradation and also the cause of elevation, according to the purposes for which it is used. If opulence is used for sense gratification, it is the cause of degradation, and if used for the service of the Lord, it is the cause of elevation. It is evident from Lord Krishna's dealings with Sudama Vipra that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very, very much pleased with a person who possesses Brahminical qualities. A qualified Brahmana, like Sudama Vipra, is naturally a devotee of Lord Krishna. Therefore it is said, Brahmano Vaishnavaha. A Brahmana is a Vaishnava. or sometimes it is said, Brahmana Pandita. Pandita means a very highly learned person. A Brahmana cannot be foolish or uneducated. Therefore, there are two divisions of Brahmanas, namely Vaishnavas and Panditas. Those who are simply learned are Panditas, but not yet devotees of the Lord, or Vaishnavas. Lord Krishna is not especially pleased with them. Simply the qualification of being a learned Brahmana is not sufficient to attract the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not only must a Brahmana be well qualified according to the requirements stated in scriptures, such as Srimad Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but at the same time he must be a devotee of Lord Krishna. The vivid example is Sudama Vipra. He was a qualified Brahmana, unattached to all sorts of material sense enjoyment, and at the same time he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna, the enjoyer of all sacrifices and penances, is very fond of a Brahmana like Sudama Vipra, and we have seen by the actual behavior of Lord Krishna how much he adores such a Brahmana. Therefore, the ideal stage of human perfection is to become a Brahmana Vaishnava like Sudama Vipra. Sudama Vipra realized that although Lord Krishna is unconquerable, he nevertheless agrees to be conquered by his devotees. He realized how kind Lord Krishna was to him, and he was always in trance, constantly thinking of Krishna. By such constant association with Lord Krishna, whatever darkness of material contamination remained within his heart was completely cleared away, and very shortly he was transferred to the spiritual kingdom, which is the goal of all saintly persons in the perfectional stage of life. Shukadeva Goswami has stated that all persons who hear the history of Sudama Vipra and Lord Krishna will know how affectionate Lord Krishna is to Brahmana devotees like Sudama. Therefore, anyone who hears this history gradually becomes as qualified as Sudama Vipra, and he is thus transferred to the spiritual kingdom of Lord Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 81st chapter of Krishna, the Brahmana Sudama, blessed by Lord Krishna.
Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shapadantikam Pandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Muri Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In these 2 chapters concerning Sudama Vipra, we learn of the exchanges of love between the Lord and his devotee. Sudama Vipra had gone to, he was very exceedingly poor, and he'd gone to Krishna at the request of his wife to ask for something. Go meet Lord Krishna. He's the well-wisher of the Brahmins. When he sees your poverty-stricken position, certainly he'll want to do something. Well, Sudama Vipra wasn't very much inclined to ask Krishna for anything, but he thought, all right, good opportunity to meet my dear friend Krishna.
So he went to meet Lord Krishna at Dwarka, and Krishna received him like an old friend. They had been class friends at the place of Shandipani Muni. Does this need to be turned on again? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
No? Yes. They'd been friends at the school of Shandipani Muni, and the incident is told how they'd gone to collect firewood for their guru, and in the course of that search, a great thunderstorm had come up, and they were stranded in the forest and huddled together. And then in the morning, the guru found them and blessed them for their devotion to their guru. So Krishna was remembering all these things, discussing all these old incidents. You might want to come forward a little bit, those who are here. Give some path. More. Yeah. They'd remembered all these incidents. And as described here, the goddess of fortune had practically worshipped the Brahmin. And everyone in the palace was surprised that Krishna is embracing this dirty kind of Brahmin, someone with, you can imagine, like old gray cloth. And he only embraces his brother Balaram and his wife Rukmini, and now who is this fellow? But Krishna had so much affection for Sudama Brahmin that he treated him in this way. So here it's described, the Lord is Brahmanya Deva, he's worshipped by the Brahmins, and therefore one who's a Vaishnava is already a Brahmin. It's the postgraduate stage of being a Brahmin. And now Krishna, knowing everything, asked, did you bring me something? When we go visit a saintly person or a friend, we bring something. Even if you get a dinner invitation, you bring some flowers, you bring a gift. So Sudama wanted to bring something. He had nothing. So his wife begged up a little chipped rice. I think that's poha, probably. Some poha or cheetah, they call it, this flat rice. I think that's the same thing, as far as I know. A very insignificant kind of rice. And just, he'd tied up a little bunch of it in the corner of his cloth. So now Krishna, oh, you must have brought me something to eat. And Sudama's thinking, he's being received at this huge palace of Lord Krishna with all these servants waiting on him, and the goddess of fortune is there. And what has he brought? Some third-class chipped rice. So he's thinking, I can't give this to Krishna. But Krishna's snatched at it, and at once just took a morsel. And because of Sudama's devotion and love, Krishna was fully satisfied. And Srila Prabhupada elaborates on this point, that Krishna isn't interested in your opulent food, he's interested in the devotion and love. One time Prabhupada said, Krishna doesn't need your dal, rice and chapatis. He can create 1,000 servitors like you in a moment. But he's interested in the devotion and love. Patram pushpam palam tu. He'll accept even a small thing if offered with love. So the Brahmin Sudama had pure love for Krishna as a friend. And therefore Krishna was fully satisfied, and he was ready to take another bite. But Rukmini Devi stopped him. You're already so satisfied with this one bite that practically we're indebted to him. And if you take another bite, then what? So, in this way, all right. And Krishna is described, when he got there, oh, you brought me this wonderful chipped rice. So he was taking that similarly. Anyway, that's another story. So, when food is offered to Krishna with love and devotion, he's so pleased that Prabhupada says the goddess of fortune becomes a guest in the house of the devotee. So the Brahmin Sudama stayed at the house of Krishna overnight, and he felt as though he were staying in Vaikuntha, which he was. And the next day he set off. And he was simply thinking of Krishna's kind and loving dealings. And he thought that Krishna was so kind that he didn't give me anything. Because he knows that if I got some opulence, I'm okay because I don't have any opulence. So I'm a little devoted. But if I got some opulence, then I might fall down, become a sense enjoyer. So Krishna has protected me. So he was thinking in that way. And Prabhupada endorses that thinking. Oh, and there's a place. How can there be any comparison between me, a poor sinful Brahmin, and the Supreme Lord, Krishna, the only shelter of the goddess of fortune? And yet, considering me a Brahmin, with heartfelt pleasure, he embraced me in his two transcendental arms. Famous verse. So Prabhupada endorses the thinking of Sudama Brahman that it's a fact that one gets a little opulence and he becomes puffed up. And therefore Krishna protects the devotee. For a neophyte devotee, Krishna may kindly prevent him from acquiring opulences so that the devotee remains unaffected. But for a mature, advanced devotee, Krishna can give so much opulence. We saw that Prabhupada told his own example that he'd started ISKCON with 30 rupees or so, and now every day so many lakhs and lakhs of rupees. And yet Srila Prabhupada was unaffected. We've seen that so many yogis and spiritual, so-called spiritual leaders become affected. They get some opulence and they live like kings. They become attracted to their female followers and they want to enjoy. But Srila Prabhupada was unaffected. He had so many opulent places, and he said, but I can't live in any of them. He kept traveling and preaching. Not that, oh, they've made me such a nice place in Bombay, let me stay here. Oh, we have such a nice temple in Fiji, let me stay here. Oh, we have this, we have that. No, he remained simple, unaffected, and always engaged in Krishna's service. So this is the quality of a mature, exalted devotee. And for such a devotee, Krishna can give the world, he can give everything. But for the neophyte devotee, Krishna may say that no, I'll withhold everything. So the Brahmin was thinking about these dealings of Lord Krishna in this way. And then he reached his home and he saw that it had been transformed into a palace. And the details are described, how opulent the place was, several buildings, not just one, and beautiful men and women wandering about, and a reception party, and just what you would expect in the abode of Indra and the heavenly planets. And Sudama was thinking, what's this? Where am I? Is this where I used to live? Is this, am I someplace else? And he understood that this must have been the blessing of Krishna, who had marvelously transformed everything. In the reception party, his wife was there, and now instead of being thin and shaking like a leaf and therefore not very beautiful, she looked like a queen, like the goddess of fortune, and that was astonishing also. So the Brahmin Sudama accepted all these opulences because they'd been given by Lord Krishna. But he accepted them not in the mood of sense enjoyment, but simply as the prasadam of the Lord. Prasadam of the Lord, we take it from this description, doesn't mean, wow, Krishna sent me something to enjoy, wow, wow, wow. But it means that the devotee appreciates that Krishna is so kind, Krishna is so merciful. He appreciates mercy. This, just as the offering is relishable for the Lord because it's given with love, the prasadam is relishable for the devotee because it's given with Krishna's mercy. Not because it tastes so good or because it's so whatever kind of mercy it is, it's so comfortable or it's so what's the word? Gratifying. But because it's Krishna's mercy. So the Brahman accepted everything in that spirit, not in the spirit of enjoyment, but in the spirit of gratitude to Krishna and love and devotion. All right, are there some questions, some comments?
The verse is wonderful and Prabhupada's purport is very explanatory, but sometimes we see that a good devotee has no money and a nonsense devotee has lots of money. And then in Kali Yuga it said that the grihastas will become beggars and the sannyasis will collect too much. It seems a little contradictory to the verse.
Sometimes things seem contradictory to the description here. Neophyte devotees have great opulence. Advanced devotees have no opulence. Grihastas have no money. Sannyasis live like kings. So how is that? One thing is that if the neophyte devotee has opulence, it's his misfortune. If he has opulence by which he becomes carried away, it's his misfortune. Due to his previous impious activities or his mixed desires or some other reason, he gets this opulence by which he becomes bewildered. Yeah. Therefore we have to be very careful. Srila Prabhupada one time in Los Angeles, when Los Angeles was just becoming, ISKCON was growing, and now we had our own temple in Los Angeles, and so many devotees were joining, and things were sort of really taking off. Devotees were giving Prabhupada so many things. My god sister Jayashree gave Srila Prabhupada that overcoat with peacock feather tassels, and Srila Prabhupada was in his room and someone had given him a gold lame bead bag. So Prabhupada said that now Krishna is giving so many things. He said, so I'm just praying to Krishna that I may not fall down. So, of course, sometimes, as Prabhupada says, that Krishna deliberately withholds from the advanced devotee material opulences out of kindness, and sometimes gives. Therefore, finally, it's up to Krishna's own independent desire. Sometimes he gives, and sometimes he takes away. In either case, for the advanced devotee, it becomes glorious. When Prabhupada was penniless, that was just setting the scene for his greatness. As far as the sannyasis go, they have to be careful. It's not their duty to accept great opulence, or they may accept, but they should distribute. Not that they live like kings. They should be careful. They should be careful. And grihastas, they live in poverty. Good for them. Actually, for devotees generally, the position of poverty is more advantageous than the position of opulence. Because as indicated here, in poverty we go on thinking of Krishna, and in opulence we may forget. Oh, better to be poor and Krishna conscious. Is that okay? Thank you.
Guru Maharaj, in the 10th canto, 80th chapter, there's that famous verse, Yasyaham Nugrayanami.
Yasyaham Nukranami Hadisheta Tanam Shanai.
And the translation says, if I especially favor someone. So is it sometimes that one devotee may be especially favored, and another one, for whatever reason, is not so especially favored?
Yes. Is it sometimes that one devotee is especially favored and others not so favored? Because the translation says, if I especially favor someone, some devotee, I take everything away. Yes, Krishna has favorites. Samoham sarvabhuteshu, I'm equal to everyone. But he's yeyatamam prapadyante tamstatai vipajamyam. He also reciprocates. So he, when devotee has great love for the Lord, ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya, mahite deshajabhyam, I'm in him and he's in me. So there are different levels of devotion, and the Lord is especially sold out to his pure devotees. So there are differences. Apart from that, Krishna is independent, so he can deal with different devotees in different ways. He may glorify one devotee by keeping him in opulence. He may glorify another devotee by keeping him in poverty. He may glorify one devotee by making him famous. He may glorify another devotee by keeping him in obscurity. So Krishna has different ways of dealing with individual devotees. It's not just sort of a template, the way you apply a style or a template in a word processing program. Okay, this is a letter, so letter style, and then everything follows that style. It's not that Krishna only has 2 or 3 or 5 templates, and then he just follows. He deals individually with all of his devotees. Pandavas, he took away everything. Who could understand why Krishna would do that? Even Bhishma Dev was crying, how could this be? And sometimes Krishna makes the devotee as opulent as the king of heaven. Yes?
We hear that Lord Krishna doesn't live part in the material world. So then, if the situation is that a devotee is an aspiring devotee, not pure, but in Mishra category, could we then apply this thing, or is it the karma that's going on?
We hear that Krishna doesn't get involved in the material world. So when a devotee is less than pure, is that just what happens to him, just karma, and Krishna doesn't get involved?
Is it Krishna favoring him?
Or Krishna's favoring him? The devotional service exists on the spiritual platform, or the platform of the spiritual world. Even the neophyte devotee is not on the same platform as the materialist. What is that? In the first canto? Not that, but no. Pajana Bhagavad-Gita. The meaning is that even if Chakva Swadharmam Charanam Pajam, I'm coming at it a little tangentially, but the idea is that even if he falls down, he's not in the same position as a materialist. If a devotee gives up prescribed duties, giving up prescribed duties is sinful. But even if a devotee gives up prescribed duties, and you say, okay, that's all right, he's a devotee, it doesn't matter. But even if that happens and then he falls down, still Krishna says, he's not in the position of an ordinary materialist. What to speak of a devotee who stays the course, who remains properly situated? Even a devotee who falls down is not like the ordinary materialist. So when one takes to the process of Krishna consciousness, then the spiritual energy intervenes. He comes in touch with the spiritual energy. The holy name descends from the spiritual platform, or the devotee ascends to the spiritual platform of the holy name. So this is not within the realm of ordinary fruitive activities, ordinary karma. Of course, there's a background. The devotee has his background of karma, and there may still be some turning of the karmic fan. But now Krishna is personally involved. It's not that Krishna waits till you come to the platform of pure devotional perfection, or waits for you to come back to Godhead, then he gets involved. He's involved even with the neophyte devotees. We see that when Dhruva Maharaj was praying to the Lord, or was seeking the Lord to get material opulence, Krishna sent Narad Muni, help him out. Didn't wait till Dhruva lost his material desires. So it may be difficult for us to determine in any given case how much of this is due to past karma, how much of this is due to Krishna's mercy. But we take it that a devotee, once Krishna is involved, or once the devotee approaches Krishna, things change. Krishna's mercy starts to appear in his life.
Narad Muni, when he cursed Nalakavira Manigriva, he mentioned to them that a poverty-stricken man voluntarily performs austerities that the sages perform. Therefore, by removing the earth, it's
a good example that the Narad Muni cursed Nalakuvara and Manigriva because they were infected by that disease of material opulence and thinking, let us enjoy. So it was a blessing for them. A yogi or transcendentalist voluntarily accepts poverty. Nalakuvara and Manigriva weren't going to do that, so Narad Muni blessed them with poverty, or with, worse than that, a life of trees, but in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. Karmani nirdhati kintutra bhakti raja. Finally, by devotional service, karma will be burned out down to the roots. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, in terms of when you were talking about how Krishna kind of reciprocates with us and is involved even in the neophyte's life.
Involved in the
neophyte's life.
When Krishna reciprocates and gets involved in the neophyte's life.
In terms of decision making, so we want to make decisions that are most pleasing to Krishna, but sometimes it's hard to know what is most pleasing.
We want to make decisions that are pleasing to Krishna, but sometimes it's hard to know which way to decide.
Yes, and how to know, according to Krishna's interference in our life, what is the...
How do we know what will be pleasing to Krishna?
Yes, according to our advanced doctrine.
Yeah, therefore we take direction from the Guru, from the Shastras, from the saintly persons, the advanced devotees. Those are our three most important ways of knowing. And when we're a little experienced, then we start to know. Prabhupada uses the expression trained up. When you're trained up in devotional service, then you don't have to ask yourself at every moment, is which way do I go? Which way? You trained, you know, I have to do this. Like a beginning soldier, you know, he doesn't know exactly what he should do. Once he's trained, he knows exactly what he should do, except when there's some, you know, a real decision, you can say, a larger decision. So generally, the devotees, once they're trained up, they know what they do. Chant Hare Krishna, depend on Krishna, follow the routine of devotional activities, hear, chant, so on. And when there's a larger decision, then they take help. Yes?
In relation to Anasuya's question, how often do we take instruction or follow the inner guru?
How often do we, or when do we take instructions from the inner guru? We take instructions, we always try to take instructions from the inner guru. That is to say, we look within ourselves and say, what should I do? Generally, the inner guru tells us, follow the authorities. Generally, the inner guru doesn't say, you know, strike out on your own, do something different, invent something. The inner guru says, follow your outer guru. So, but sometimes the inner guru gives, you know, a special advice or what have you. But there's an interestingly, in the first edition of Bhagavad-Gita as it is, that is to say, the abridged Macmillan edition of 1968, a little blue volume with Narayan on the cover. Srila Prabhupada read the page proofs for that edition, and he made a few corrections, revisions. And one of them has to do with a verse where it says that, this is not verbatim, but close enough, that whatever the devotee does is perfect because it's guided by Krishna from within. And Srila Prabhupada penned in and confirmed by the spiritual master. The problem with inner vision is that our receptive apparatus is not so reliable. Krishna is reliable, he's there in the heart of everyone, but our ability to hear Krishna may be compromised. We have some material desire and we sort of do a little inner jujitsu and we make it that was Krishna from within. So, therefore, we take guidance from the spiritual master, from the devotees, from the shastras. But while we're following our prescribed duties, Krishna may inspire and encourage us. Prabhupada, some devotees would like decorate the temple, and Krishna would say, "Oh, Krishna is inspiring you from within." So, in general, that inspiration comes within the field of our prescribed duties. Not that Krishna inspired me that, well, every sannyasi should have a girlfriend or, you know, something wild. But Krishna inspires us in performing our prescribed duties. Prabhupada, Krishna inspired him to come to the West. His spiritual master had already told him, preach in English. And then by inner inspiration, Srila Prabhupada thought, let me go to America.
Let me go.
Yes.
You're hearing the description of the opulence that Krishna bestowed upon Sudama.
We're hearing about the opulence that Krishna bestowed on Sudama.
And I was visualizing it and thinking, so much, you know, it's just excessive.
Excessive.
And especially, you know, we hear all about simple living, just keeping body and soul together, and especially for Brahmanas. So why did Krishna bestow so much opulence?
We hear about simple living, especially for Brahmins. So why did Krishna bestow upon him this inordinate opulence? One reason is the Acharya's comment that Sudama was a little attached to being renounced. He was, no material attachments, but a little attached to being renounced. So Krishna finished that off. Another reason is that Krishna knew that Sudama won't be deviated. Generally, the Brahmins are kept poor, or voluntarily keep themselves poor, so that they won't be attracted materially. But Krishna wanted to show that a devotee of on the level of Sudama, even if he got the whole world, wouldn't be deviated. Is that okay? Yes.
Maharaja, how can we know if Krishna has accepted our offering?
How can we know if Krishna has accepted our offering? Generally, we assume that if we're doing our prescribed duties, that if we're offering according to regular principles, if we're offering what we've been asked to offer, then Krishna will accept it. That I'm offering to my spiritual master, the spiritual master is very dear to Krishna, so we take it for granted. But that doesn't mean that we should be casual, that I offer any nonsense to Krishna, and then, well, Krishna must accept it because I'm a devotee. Not like that. Or that we just mechanically do everything. Krishna says, Yo me bhaktya priyashriti. I accept it when it's offered with love and devotion. So we may not have perfect love and devotion, but at least we should try. Let me offer this to Krishna with some love, because that's what Krishna is interested in. We should always have that aspiration. Then it's up to Krishna. He may accept or not accept, but at least let me offer it with devotion and love. Yes?
Maharaj, in the journey of a sadhaka, devotee, it's recommended that there needs to be some level of financial planning, especially in the grihastha ashram phase, so that later on they can simplify their lives. When you're working to go into a certain career, there's this idea that I need to earn so much money, or certain things. The fear comes in the mind that chasing after those kind of goals, you could get taken away from your sadhana.
In grihastha life especially, there's a need for financial planning, and then the question is that if one gets too much money, or he starts chasing after career and so on, then he may be deviated. There may be a fear, he may fear that he'll be deviated, and rightly so. Rightly so. The financial planning doesn't mean planning how to become rich. Financial planning for grihasthas doesn't mean planning how to become kuvera. It means prudent. First of all, financial planning means you're working, you're making money, how to use that money properly. Because it's more effective to spend money wisely, or it's easier to spend money wisely Easier? More effective, let's go back to that. More advantageous to spend money wisely than to make more money. We know people who make a lot of money and then they spend money extravagantly and then they have no money. Or they're making enough money but they don't spend it wisely, or they spend it unwisely. They see something that would be good for their family life and they don't have the money for it, so they buy it on their credit card at 24% interest, which is a form of fiscal insanity. People used to be put in jail for charging that kind of an interest rate. So financial planning means, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he became a Grihastha, first thing he did, he went out and earned some money. He started a school and got some money together. Because Grihastha life means some Griha Kshetra Sudapta Vittai. We need some money. So brahmacharis don't need any money. At the end of the day, whatever they collect, that goes to the guru. And if the guru forgets to call them for prasadam, all right, I'll go with that prasadam. But a grihastha can't live that way, or it will be difficult for a grihastha to live that way. Generally, grihastha means you make money. But excellent financial planning means learning how to live with less. Learning how to live with less. There's so many, so often, I won't go on and on about this. Hindi speakers can look on YouTube for the seminar on financial planning for devotees given by Ananda Vrindavan Prabhu from Bombay. And those who are English speakers, similar seminar given in English by Vamsidhari Gopal. Same topic? Okay. So there you can get so much practical advice. But the earning money is hard. You have to work and work and then no time. But to live simply, even in Grihastha life, and spend money wisely, which means mostly conservatively, not spending pointlessly. It's good. Financial planning doesn't mean how to be opulent and wealthy. If Krishna wants to send wealth, he'll send wealth. When he sends wealth, then the recommendation is now be charitable. Yagya dana tapa karma, yagya dana tapas chaiva pavanani manishina. Charity is purifying even for those who are wise. The grihasthas are recommended to give charity. Well, that'll keep you poor. 50%, right? Yes.
In regards to that previous question that Sudama was being a bit attached to being renounced, like how, if that's one of their goals, like we become more detached and that, but how to approach that stages, like with caution that we don't get attached to that.
Detachment is good. How to practice detachment in stages so that we don't go overboard? Yeah. The main thing is that detachment should not take the place of devotion in our life. Detachment, one can be very detached. Janayati ashu vairagyam gyanam Jayadvaita. Detachment is favorable for devotional service. Vairagya vidya nija bhakti-yoga. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach detachment and knowledge and devotional service. So it's not that you can have too much knowledge or you can be too detached, but the thing is, when those become secondary to devotional service, then things are wrong. They're supposed to be supportive of devotional service. If I want to become a learned scholar, then I'd become a learned scholar and devotional service takes second place. That's not good. If I want to be a vairagi, and that takes second place to developing love and devotion to Krishna, that's not good. Yes.
Please give an example that attachment may not take place of devotion.
Can you please give an example of how detachment will not take the place of devotion?
An example how detachment will not take place of devotion. The six Goswamis. Chakvat Turnam Ashesha Mandala Patishanim Sarat Tujcharat Udvadina Ganesha Gokuraniya. They were government ministers. They had an unlimited circle of power and influence and wealth. Raghunath Das Goswami was the only son of his father and uncle who were basically millionaires. And they gave all this up to become beggars. But Gopi Pavarasamrita Tilahari Kalolamano. They were always immersed in the loving dealings of Krishna and the gopis and the internal energy. Yes, there was a question here. Yes.
We see how Sudama became a little maybe proud of being detached.
Excuse me?
It seems like Sudama became maybe a little proud of his detachment.
Sudama became a little proud of his detachment. Yeah, practically indiscernible, you know. We don't see it playing large in his life. I'm so proud. But there was some, the acharyas, the commentators say this.
So, I mean, detachment is a good thing, and devotees may be good at things, like you can give a great class, or lead a great kirtan, or, you know, whatever. How do we not become proud?
How do we not become proud? We give a great class, or we're a great kirtan leader, or we're very detached. How do we keep from becoming proud? That's a subject dealt with especially in third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Brahma has to create the universe. And that's his concern, that in creating the universe I may become proud. Now I've created this, I've created that. And I may become entangled also with all these creatures that I create. But he's, what's the word? Protected, because he always thinks that he prays to Krishna first of all, that I may not fall down. And he does everything with cognizance that whatever I'm able to do, the credit belongs to Krishna. So we have to keep, again, that Krishna consciousness up front. Otherwise, if I become proud, I have this capability, I have that capability, I'm a good talker, I'm a good book distributor, I'm a good artist, I'm a good editor, I'm a good this, I'm a good that, then that becomes more prominent. Then there's possibility of, if not fall down, it means that my devotion is adulterated. So we have to go further and always be thinking that this is only possible by the grace of Guru and Krishna. The credit is theirs.
But even so, someone might think, yeah, this is all by the grace of Krishna, but Krishna is empowering me. Like, You know, you can, why am I special?
No, as long as you may think that this is by the grace of Krishna, but he's empowering me. But that remembering Krishna, what's the word? Immunizes or protects us from that. As long as we remember Krishna, Yaha Krishna Maya Nahi, what is that? Yaha Krishna Taha Maya Nahi Adhikar. Where there's Krishna consciousness, Maya can't enter. But as soon as we become carried away and forget that this is all by the grace of Krishna, then we're in trouble. Therefore we're advised, chant 16 rounds a day, always hear Bhagavatam, always associates, all these things, so that we won't forget Krishna. Otherwise, when we forget Krishna, trouble. Yes?
What can we do to protect ourselves against the subtle enjoying spirit?
What can we do to protect ourselves against the subtle enjoying spirit? It's insidious, the subtle enjoying spirit. But what do we have? We have devotional service. That's what protects us. Strictly following the 4 regular principles, strictly chanting 16 rounds a day, following the guidelines and instructions given by the spiritual life. These are the things that protect us. There's no secret thing that we haven't been told. But by following these things, yes, this is the process. If I follow this, even though I know I have subtle desires for, maybe not so subtle desires for enjoyment, but because I'm on this path, they'll be cleansed away. And at the same time, I should want them cleansed away. Not that I should be hoping. That famously, St. Augustine said, "Oh Lord, give me charity, give me chastity, but not yet." So, we should want to be purified now, and not, oh Krishna, please protect my attachments, please protect my enjoyments. We should want to make progress. Something else? Yes.
On one side we see that the sannyasa ashram involves a lot of renunciation.
On one side we see that the sannyasa ashram is meant for renunciation.
Yeah. And then we have that the guru is meant to be treated or given as much as facility.
And the guru is meant to be given as much facility and so on.
So sometimes, where do we draw the line?
You don't draw the line. The spiritual master can be given as much facility. Prabhupada said, whatever it is, it's not enough. They gave me this Mercedes car to use. It's not good enough. It should have been a gold car. He was joking with the newspaper reporter. But there's no limit. But that doesn't mean that the spiritual master now, because they're giving him every opulence, he has to live comfortably and enjoy. That's not just like the viceroy, he's given everything offered to a king, but not that he becomes the king. He sends all the opulence on to the king. He takes something for him so he can keep going, but he doesn't think, now I'm the king. So the spiritual, we see that Srila Prabhupada, he was given all this opulence, but I remember there was an account established to help defray Srila Prabhupada's travel expenses and so on. The temples were all asked to give some monthly amount, and they weren't doing it. They wouldn't, it was a little uneven. So it was like hard to sometimes to finance what Srila Prabhupada was doing, even though it wasn't expensive. Srila Prabhupada was flying modestly, you can say, not first class or anything. So he didn't have money. He gave it for PBT, he gave it for Mayapur, for Vrindavan. He had some bank accounts, but the bank accounts weren't for just in case I need money. Personal maintenance. It was for projects, for Krishna service, for printing books. We hear, someone told me today, that Prabhupada was living in Radha Damodar as a householder, and he had serious fever, and he was just lying on a straw mat, and some godbrothers came and saw how he was living, and they said, Babu, you should see a doctor. And Prabhupada said, no, whatever money I have to use for printing. So, in that way, even when Prabhupada got so much given to him, he didn't establish, a castle for himself in the Swiss Alps and another castle here and there. He was living the same way. The disciple should give, but the spiritual master has to be careful that this is not meant for me, this is meant for Krishna. Okay, we're just about at the end of our time. Kirtan?
Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadip Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Thank you all very much, and Krishna willing, we'll be here tomorrow.